Alrighty, so it's 7 o'clock on Monday, July 19th, 2021, and I'll call the meeting for Adelaide Metcalfe Council to order. And I will note that we are missing just one council member this evening, and that's Councillor Brody. The weather's good and it's not raining. He's out there in the field combining wheat. And I see a lot of other farmers out there doing the same thing. So hopefully everybody is able to get that off before what I hear some more rain is coming or thunderstorms or anything like that. Before I get into the meeting, I just have a couple of announcements and celebrations to note this evening. So Councillor McKinnon is celebrating her, Councillor McKinnon, can I say the number? I can't see you. It looks like yes. So celebrating her 80th birthday today. And years ago, I put her birthday in my calendar, on my iPhone calendar. And I think it was put in there on like the 16th or 17th. And then I was corrected that it's the 19th. But I'm going to ask Betty Ann if you can unmute yourself there and explain the unique story about your birthday.
My mother said I was born on July the 17th and I weighed 14 pounds at birth. So I figured that she lost 2 days after having a 14-pound baby. And so she always celebrated all of our birthdays. There was 3 boys and myself. And her firstborn was Junior, and he was 12 pounds. I was 14, and the other 2 boys were a little over 10. And she said she stopped having them. They were getting too small.
There you go. So I popped by earlier today and dropped off a congratulations certificate on behalf of the township. So happy birthday, Betty Ann. Thank
you very much. And I really appreciate the certificate with the best wishes. So thank you to all the staff and council for that.
Excellent. So the next thing I want to do is introduce our new clerk for Adelaide Metcalfe. His name is Mike Barnier. And Mike, I've known him for quite a while now. So Mike and I think we met on a county committee, and it was when I was a councillor for Adelaide Metcalfe. And he was on there, and it was the Foreign Direct Investment Committee, if you remember correctly. Is that right, Mike? So I'll hand it over to you.
I believe so. I know it was something tourism or something like that for sure.
Yeah. So if you want to say a few words.
Through the mayor to members of council, I really appreciate the opportunity to join the Adelaide Metcalfe team. I think I bring a very broad municipal skill set, and I've wore a lot of hats over the years. However, not clerk, so a little bit of patience as I ramp up to be a full-time clerk. And I'm very excited about the possibility of modernizing the processes and make the township very efficient. And it's been a warm welcome already, so thank you.
Excellent. Welcome, Mike. And you know, we throw you right in there with a large meeting with the quarter revision and consideration meetings and planning meetings. So, you know, welcome.
Sure.
See how we do with this one. All righty. So is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature there of members of council? I do see one noted there from Councillor McKinnon, if you want to say that one.
Yes, I have an interest in item 5B, the Crothers McFarland drain, and recognizing that I have an interest, conflict of interest act allows me to participate in the meeting under section 4E, which states that by reason of having an interest in any property affected by a drainage works under the Drainage Act, I have an exception as a landowner in the drain. And that was, opinion was given to me by Mark McDonald, the ombudsman.
All right. So is there any other conflicts? I'm not seeing any. So we'll move into the minutes of the previous meeting, and those are from June 21st, 2021. We have a mover and seconder for those. Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Deputy Trucks. Sorry, Sue, you were a little too slow there. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. So we do have a number of timed events. So we have our quarter revision followed by the consideration meetings for drainage, and then we have a public meeting for a planning application. So we're going to jump straight into our Court of Revision. So we need to have a motion that council recess its regular meeting in order to sit as the Court of Revision under Section 97 of the Drainage Act as amended to consider the McKean Drain 2021 and the Morgan Drain 2021. Mover and seconder.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Clerk, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. All righty, so the first one we have there is the McKean Drain, and this is pursuant to the report prepared by Streets Associates dated February 26, 2021, which was considered and adopted at the consideration meeting held on May 17th, 2021, and pursuant to bylaw number 42 of 2021, which received the first and second reading by council at the regular meeting of May 17th. So section 54(1) of the Drainage Act provides that the decision of the Court of Revision can be appealed by the Drainage Tribunal within 21 days of the date of the Court of Revision. And the final day of appeal would be Monday, August 9th, 2021, if we proceed. So I'll call the meeting to order. And I'll ask if there's any declaration of conflict of interest, and assuming none, because we already went over that. And I will see if there's any appeals from landowners. And as of this time of making the agenda, it doesn't look like that, but Mike, have you received any? I guess there's a couple mics on the screen. I'm not sure which one I'm looking at.
We have received no appeals at this time.
Okay. And then list of written appeals, assessment received by the clerk, none. Mike DeVos, do you have anything you'd like to add at all?
Not at this time. I haven't heard of any concerns from landowners.
Okay. And then we'll move into questions from landowners, which it doesn't look like we have any here. Which brings us to the decision. I really like these Court of Revisions when there isn't really much to discuss, because we can just whip right through this. So assuming that there's no issue, the recommended motion is that the assessments contained in the report for the McKean Drain 2021, as prepared by Streets and Associates dated February 26, 2021, be confirmed as presented, and further that council proceed with the third reading of bylaw number 42 of 2021. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hendricks, seconded by Councilor McKinnon. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. All right. And now we need to adjourn this Court of Revision, and that's for the McKean Drain, and that's at 7:08. Mover and seconder, Councilor McKinnon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And then the next one here is the Court of Revision for the Morgan Drain. And this is pursuant to the report prepared by Streets Associates on dated March 12th, 2021, which was considered and adopted at the consideration meeting held on May 17th, 2021, and pursuant to bylaw number 43 of 2021, which received the first and second reading by council at the regular meeting on May 17th. And the Drainage Act provides that the decision of the Court of Revision can be appealed to the Drainage Tribunal within 21 days of the date of the Court of Revision, which would be Monday, August 9th. So I'll call this one to order. Is there any declaration of conflict of interest? Seeing none. Have we received any appeals from any landowners?
Through the mayor, we have not received any appeals to this date.
Okay. And Mike DeVos, do you have anything you'd like to add for the background or the engineering?
No, we haven't heard of any concerns. There was a revision due to some tiling in a different watershed, and that was submitted and distributed prior to the Court of Revision, so all the landowners have that information, and it will have to be adopted by the court as part of the proceeding.
Okay. So, and it doesn't look like we have any attendees for this one here. So we've reached the part of the decision part. So I'm going to read the recommended motion, but then Mike, you're going to probably have to add in a section that motion then. So what I have in front of me is that the assessment contained in the report from the Morgan Drain 2021 is prepared by Streets Associates dated March 12, 2021, be confirmed as presented, and further that council proceed with the third reading of bylaw number 43 of 2021. But I assume you're wanting to have a new date in there for the assessment schedule? Mike shaking his head yes.
Yep, sorry.
Mike DeVos, do we have a date on that one, or what are you wanting to put in the motion?
Look for it. I didn't have it handy with me here.
Sorry. We'll get that sorted out then. So what we'll do is, I'm sure Mike, you'll find that, and then you just give that to the other Mike, and then we'll have that in the minutes there. So can we
It
have
was revised.
Oh, sorry.
I have it here.
Yep.
It was revised on June the 18th.
Perfect. Okay. So can we have a mover and seconder for that motion then? Deputy Mayor Hendricks and seconded by Councilor McKinnon. We'll go with seconded by Councilor Clerk. Okay. There we go.
That's okay.
All those in favor? And that's
Aye.
carried. And that's the assessment schedule dated June 18th. Okay, so we need to have a motion that the Court of Revision for the Morgan Drain 2021 be adjourned at 7:12. Deputy Mayor Hendricks
So moved.
and Councilor Clark. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Aye.
And now we're going to move into consideration meetings, and we need to have a motion to end our recess from council so we can re-adjourn as council so that we can continue on with a regular meeting. So moved by Councilor McKinnon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. All right, so now we're back in our agenda for our regular meeting. So we have the consideration for the Crothers McFarland Drain 2021. And as noted before, Councilor McKinnon has declared a conflict on this item, but is a landowner within that drainage assessment. So we need to have a motion that the drainage consideration meeting to review the engineer's report for the Crothers McFarland Drain 2021 be opened at 7:13 p.m.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councilor Clark, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? And
Aye.
that's carried. All right, so what I'll do now is I will hand it over to our drainage superintendent, Andrew, if you'd like to make any notes on this before handing it over to our drainage engineer, Mike DeVos.
Yes, just briefly, I will mention that this was an extension of the existing drain. There is a section of drain that is simply a natural water course, and there was a petition that was received by the municipality to extend this drain downstream under Section 4 of the Drainage Act for improvements to afford better drainage upstream. And this is where Mike was appointed to this project to write a report for this. And last summer, actually, I believe it was, there was a preliminary meeting that was held to discuss the ongoing concerns and ongoing project. And from here, I will hand it off to Mike DeVos, the engineer who wrote the report.
Before we hand it over to Mike, I think do we have Shelley Ingold? Is she part of this drain? Betty Ann's shaking her head yes, so we should add them into the panelists probably as well. Excellent. Shelley, are you able to hear us? You're muted if you're able to unmute yourself, and then we can make sure. There we go.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, excellent. So I'll have Mike go through the report there, and then if there's any questions at all, then that'll be the time when you can ask any questions. So Mike.
Yes, as mentioned, this report was prepared in accordance with Section 4 of the Act for a new municipal drain. It is the extension to the existing Carruthers-McFarland drain. The petition itself was instructing the drain be extended downstream across lot 23, concession 13. And the existing drain stopped on the south side of Scotchmere Drive. So we investigated the proposal in the request to extend the open channel downstream across lot 23. We would have had to go a distance into lot 24 to gain lot 23 a sufficient outlet. We did hold an informal meeting with the landowners with preliminary proposals and reviewed those including 2 culverts or low-grade crossings that were in place already in the natural water course. And we received some feedback. And from that feedback, we investigated some alternatives, both to the drain work as well as the culvert / low-grade crossing work. And it took some time to try and get as much feedback as we could. But at the end of the day, only the one of the 2 petitioning landowners wished to have the drain extended across their property to provide that outlet. So we reduced the scope of the work, starting at the south side of Scotchmere and across the east half of lot 23. We still have to go a short distance into the west half of lot 23 to secure that outlet for the upstream lands. But we would stop right at the low-grade crossing on the Ingold property to avoid the cost of reconstructing or potentially affecting that particular crossing. So our work is limited in comparison to what the initial works were investigated in the engineering work that was done. The work in the proposal does include reconstruction of the channel, erosion protection in certain areas on the bends and on the slopes, some replacement of outlet pipes and repair of the outlet pipes through additional erosion protection, buffer strips, and clearing and grubbing. So at this point, I would stop and open up to questions.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Is there any questions from either Sheila or Betty Ann? Yep, go ahead, Betty Ann.
Through you, Mayor Curtis, to the engineer, Mike DeVos. Mike, thank you for getting back to me with my questions, and I'm satisfied with the answers given. So thank you very much. And as I said, I'm satisfied with the answers given.
Okay, thank you. And Sheila, do you have any comments at all or questions?
Actually, I do have a couple questions, and I apologize. My video doesn't seem to be working tonight. I have a question, first of all, regarding the special benefit that's assessed to hours. If you're only going, I don't know how many meters it is to our crossing, maybe 100 meters? I'm not sure. I'm not sure why we're being assessed a special benefit there, or why it's more than double anybody else's special benefit, because there's virtually no work being done on our side.
So I think I'll hand this probably over to Mike, but I believe the assessment itself would not be considered right now. That would be during the court of revision, but I'll hand over and can further explain if I'm correct.
I can explain that, sure. Yes, the special benefit is different than regular benefit in that it deals with items that are not regular in nature, in terms of physical benefits that landowners will receive. As a petitioner on the drain, we were instructed to survey across the property and even downstream of the property to be able to design, provide a cost estimate, preliminary drawings, the assessments, the distribution of the cost, hold a preliminary meeting. So there was a significant amount of engineering work that was done to be able to come up with that information and review that information with the owners. So that special benefit is this property's portion of that cost. And it's a one-time fee, a one-time assessment that is instructed in the report to not apply for future maintenance. So the municipal drain and the proposed work will stop approximately 111 meters into the property. And so in the future, that special benefit for the engineering no longer exists and it will not be applied for future maintenance. With regard to the other properties assessment numbers, the McKinnon property had a much shorter length and amount of work that was looked at. And on the Leach property, we are proceeding with the work. So that engineering is part of the regular statutory benefit. The special benefit that is shown for the Leach property is not engineering at all. What it is repair and replacement to the outlet pipes along the ditch. And again, that special benefit charge would only apply in the future if they repair those outlet pipes. So there is significant engineering applied to the Leach property, but it's part of their statutory benefit because it will apply for future maintenance. So there is a distinction in this case.
Okay. I understand that. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions at all? Okay, seeing none. So the recommendation in front of us is that the engineer's report dated June 4th, 2021 for the repair of the Crothers McFarland Drain 2021 be considered and adopted as presented by the drainage engineer. And further that the drainage consideration meeting to review the engineer's report for the Crothers McFarland Drain 2021 be closed at 7:22. Is it okay, Mike Barney, if I do those two in one? Okay. Mover and seconder. Okay. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and seconded by Councillor Clark.
Yes.
Perfect.
I second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Okay. Thank you, Shelley, for joining us tonight. Okay, we're going to move into the next drain, which is the Timmerman's Drain 2021. And we need to have a motion that the drainage consideration meeting to review the engineer's report for the Timmerman's Drain 2021 be opened at 7:23 p.m. Okay, Councilor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. All right. Do we have anyone that's going to be in attendance for this meeting at all? Not seeing anybody. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Andrew, our drainage superintendent.
This one was completed under Section 78, a request. And it is, I believe there is a bridge that is involved and maintenance work that is involved as well. No, I'm sorry. This is a reconstruction. And on that note, what I would do is hand it to the engineer, Mike DeVos.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. As mentioned, this report was prepared in accordance with Section 78. So it's repair and improvement to the existing municipal drain. The Timmerman's Drain consists of a main drain and several branches that were constructed in 1964. And the request was to replace them due to its age, condition, and depth. So this report replaces portions of the drain, not the entirety of the drain, but the portions of the drain that are crossing the Timmerman's properties. There's three half lots there that that will be worked on, and we'll be working on the main drain, branch 1, branch 3, and branch 4. It was also reviewed and discussed that we enhance the drain further by looking at constructing larger berms. They have an acronym, is a water and soil control basin. It's called a WASCOB. It is a berm that's larger than what we would normally see installed adjacent to catch basins or inlets. And the idea is not only to capture as much of the surface water as you can and put it in the drain, but actually hold some of the surface water back from continuing on downstream to try and reduce the amount of surface water and flooding and erosion downstream. So there are 2 different components in this case to the improvements. And, you know, it was designed, it was reviewed. We had an informal meeting with the landowners. There was no additional work added upstream. So there still is a little piece of the 1964 drain up in the upper end. We were requested to replace the surface culvert under Seed Road at the same time while we'll be digging the road up. So there is an existing surface pipe that goes from road ditch to road ditch that will be replaced as well. So the total cost of the project is roughly $242,000, and I'd open up to questions.
Okay, thank you, Mike. We don't have any of the landowners here with us right now. So is there any questions from members of council? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So we have the recommendation in front of us, which is that the engineer's report dated May 14th, 2021 for the repair of the Timmerman's Drain 2021 be considered and adopted as presented by the drainage engineer. And further, that the drainage consideration meeting to review the engineer's report for the Timmerman's Drain 2021 be closed at 7:27. Okay. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. All right. That looks like everything for all those. Is that everything for you, Mike DeVos? Okay. Okay.
I believe it is. Thank you.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay. Good night.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now we do have a few minutes before our public meeting, which is at 7:30, and that's not too far away. But we do have one report from our drainage superintendent or supervisor. I forget what title we're going with. So Andrew, would you like to go through that report, and then that way you can carry on with your day?
That would suit me just fine, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Excellent. So we'll jump in there. So that's item 8E.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This drain is somewhat unique in that I had received a request under maintenance to fix a sinkhole on this drain, and as a result, I had received another request under Section 78 of the Drainage Act downstream to upgrade the drain. And that report I had brought to council to accept in April 6th of this year. And from there, I had sent out notifications to landowners on the drain to get their feedback, and also to notify property owners early on in the process so that they're involved with everything earlier on than in some cases. And from this, I had some correspondence, but there were no other interests to extend this reconstruction of the drain beyond the map that I've indicated. That there's just one landowner at this point. However, I would like to note that there is still time to include any other landowners that should sign on to reconstruction upstream. And with that, I would recommend that council appoints Spreet and Associates to write a report to reconstruct the topping drain based on the request received from owner of the concession 3 lot 8 in the geographic township of Adelaide.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Is there any questions at all from members of council? Okay, seeing none. Give a mover and seconder then for the recommendation. Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Hendrick, seconded by
I'll second that.
Councillor Clerk. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. And that's
you.
the first, half hour of the meeting was pretty much half of your show. All right. So we're going to move into our public meeting for our planning application. So we need to have a motion to open the public meeting to hear zoning bylaw amendment Z05 2021, which is Hugh and Ina Dodge at 229 Patterson Drive. Mover and seconder for that. Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by
I'll second that.
Councillor Clerk. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And are the Dodges joining us at all? I'm saying heads no, and I don't see anybody else in the attendees list. So we'll hand it over to Stephanie to go through the report.
You. The purpose and effect of the application for the zoning bylaw amendment is to implement a condition for a severance of consent B06-2020, which conditionally severed a lot with an area of approximately 0.44 hectares or 1.08 acres in order to accommodate the disposal of a surplus farm dwelling. The application proposes to amend the zoning of the lot to be severed from the general agricultural zone to a surplus dwelling SV zone in order to recognize the residential use of the lands. And the application also proposes to amend the zoning of the lot to be retained from the general agricultural A zone to the agricultural only, so the AO zone, and that's to prohibit new residential uses on the lands. And the portion of the lot to be retained that is located within the environmental protection EP zone will remain unchanged. Staff are generally supportive of the application and are of the opinion that it's remaining consistent with the applicable policies. The notice of the application was circulated in accordance to the requirements of the Planning Act, and staff received the following comments. Enbridge Gas does have service lines running within the area, which may or may not affect the proposed severance. Should the proposed severance impact these services, it may be necessary to terminate the gas service and relocate the line according to the new property boundaries. Any service relocation required due to the severance would be at the direct cost of the property owner. Also, should future gas service be required to either the severed or retained parcel, a request for gas service needs to be submitted to Enbridge. The Adelaide Metcalfe Drainage Superintendent noted that the severed house is not anticipated to be assessed by a municipal drain. The Adelaide Metcalfe Chief Building Official had no comments. And we did receive comments from the public by Gregory and Darlene Bennell of 2173 Patterson Drive, and they noted no concerns or objections. And at the time of writing the subject report, no other comments have been received from agencies or the public. So it is recommended that the application be granted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. And seeing that the owners are not in attendance, so there'll be no comments there. And was there anyone that was registered at all for this from members of the public? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so is there any questions or comments from members of council? It's pretty straightforward. So we have the motion in front of us that the application Z05 2021 zoning bylaw amendment be approved, and further that council proceed with the first and second reading of the implementing bylaw, with the final reading to be provided once the depositive reference plan has been received to the satisfaction of the township.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Clerk, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Okay, now
Good night, everyone.
Hey, good night, Stephanie. And I just need to have now a motion to also end the public meeting for the zoning bylaw amendment at 7:35. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor McKinnon, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. All right, so we'll move into the correspondence on our agenda. So the upcoming conferences, seminars, and meetings. So there's the AMO Virtual 2021 AGM and Conference, and that's from August 15th to 18th. The Warden's Charity Golf Tournament is scheduled for September 16th. Our next regular meeting is August 9th, and then Tuesday, September 7th. So the recommended readings, the first one is from the Middlesex London Health Unit, and it's their monthly Board of Health update, and that's from June. And then, sorry, I'm just seeing this now, that yes, Brian, if you'd like to stick around, you can, but if not, it's understandable. You'd like to head out. You didn't have too many people to move in out of the planning application meetings.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks. Good night, everyone.
Take care. Thank you. Moving into action required. So the first one is from the town of Kingsville, and it's regarding Bill C-21 regarding firearms. Any comments on this one? Deputy Mayor Hendricks.
If the information in there is correct, I definitely would move to support.
Okay. Any other comments at all?
I have a question. So they're asking the municipality to enforce it, are they not?
Have some, Mike or Morgan, do you want to comment on this one just for some clarification? Just because I agree with Deputy Mayor Hendricks. Reading through it, I just wasn't sure what information, where it's coming from, and just how clear it is.
Mr. Mayor, through you to council, I guess, as I understand it, the province is looking for local municipalities to develop policies around handgun control. However, I don't really have enough information to really make a recommendation at this time. So if council is looking for further information, I'd appreciate if we had an opportunity to bring a report back to the council.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
yeah, my concern was they're asking us to enforce this. So that's the only thing. Maybe I wasn't reading it correctly or didn't understand. I just wanted clarification.
Okay, so maybe I agree, Councillor Clark. I believe it looks like they're looking at having it so the municipalities would be having the enforcement or setting those policies and framework out there, and then they're asking that not be the case. Did I agree with that correctly? Mike's shaking his head yes. So maybe we should get some more information on this when it can be brought back to council, just so we all know kind of what this new Bill C-21 is all about.
Yeah, as long as we don't have to enforce it, because I mean, we don't have the bandwidth for that.
No. Okay. So Mike, are you wanting us to have a motion to defer this one to a future meeting?
Yes, that's what through to the mayor. Yes, that's what I would suggest, is a deferral until we get more information and bring a staff report forward.
Okay. Do you have a mover and seconder on that then? Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Clark. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And the next one there is from the Township of Wainfleet, and it's the invasive Phragmites. Deputy Mayor Hendricks.
Yeah, I think we had this discussion maybe last meeting about there isn't much point in trying to take a stab at Phragmites if the big highways aren't going to be getting done. And I have to say, it is every year there are more and more on the ditches down our road. I would, if it's the hazard that they keep saying it is, then I think it's really important that on the major thoroughfares that the Phragmites get cleaned up, so that there's some point in us doing it. So that's a support.
Of note, Mayor Smith, yeah, of note, on CTV News this morning, there was an individual interviewed from Norwich who is I can't remember his title, but he spoke specifically about the Phragmites, and his presentation, I guess, was basically stating that before it reaches Northern Ontario, they need the federal government needs to step in and do some sort of mitigation there. So from a municipal level, I'm not really sure what we can do at our end, but it sounds like that there's the conservation bodies are appealing to the provincial and federal levels for support on this.
Okay. I think with Phragmites, it's one of those things where a municipality can only do so much. There's, within Adelaide Metcalfe, there's county roads, there's also provincial roads. So it has to be a multi-level approach when moving forward with this. So yeah, this is the same conversation that we're going to likely be having at County Council the next meeting regarding gypsy moths, and the fact that there's many layers to this. It's it's an invasive species that's moving around. It doesn't just go into a certain jurisdiction or a certain ditch. So it's moving, and it's moving quick. So
Exactly.
So are we wanting just to file that one, or it looks like that. Okay. The next one there.
I would say for now. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say file it for now, and as more information becomes available, we can support accordingly.
Perfect. The next one there is from the town of Fort Erie, and it's a licensing of cannabis operations. Nobody's jumping up and down for support, it doesn't look like. So we're going to have a motion to file correspondence. How do we want to do this, Mike? Because normally it's a CC1 through something. So let's go with, I don't know how you want to do that. You'll figure out the motion later, but we're going to file the Middlesex London Health Unit, the Wainfleet, and the Fort Erie. Mover and seconder. Councilor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Okay, so we don't have any committee minutes, so we'll move into our staff reports, and our first couple are from our treasurer, Johnny. I'll hand it over to you for our first budget to actual, which council's looking forward to.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We like it.
Through you, the council. As the mayor said, this is our first budget to actual report, and it's for June. So for the June 21st council meeting, council passed a resolution to end the practice of reporting all invoices for payment in favor of the monthly budget to actual report. The budget actual reporting compares our current budgeted numbers with actual results for the month to gain an understanding of our financial performance. This change provides council increased oversight to the township's operations and is a good source of information and budget control. At the beginning of every month, I will be reviewing all budget to actual reports and providing them to each department manager to perform detailed analysis on their accounts. Since this is a new process, I did meet with all managers to assist in reviewing their departmental spending. So the way this report is set up is first by listing how we're performing from a revenue perspective, and then from an expense perspective, all by department. The difference column is just a difference between the budget and the actual in dollars. The percentage raised used column just shows how much revenue we've received per budget, and from the expense perspective, shows how much we've used compared to budget. So since we are 6 months into the year, 50% is a good target to look for. So on the right side of the report is used to highlight any issues or explain the reason for the differences. Since this is a new report for council, I did add a lot more detail to help explain some of the spending or the reasons for the timing, so council would have a better understanding on why variances are the way they are. In the future, I will be focusing on more on issues and highlighting large variances. Just so we're not here all night, I'll kind of highlight some of the variances that may be of some interest to council. So just touching on revenue quickly, the majority of this difference is due to timing of final taxes, as that's where a lot of our revenue is collected. Switching over to expenses, I just want to touch on administration and Parks and Rec for a second. I will be preparing a budget amendment to adjust our budget for the additional expenses we've incurred in the year due to the new phone system, eScribe, and the Keystone annual licensing module, which is funded through modernization, and the Curwood Park, which is funded by the Recreation Reserve. This will not have any impact on the tax levy, as these are all paid for by reserves. The purpose of this report is to increase the level of transparency. Not having the budget amendment completed did skew some numbers when working through the budget to actual reports, as it did make some accounts look like they were over budget when in fact they were not. A lot of these projects have already gone to council, but I do want to summarize this into a budget amendment just to make everything clear for everyone. Also looking at roads, you'll notice another large variance listed there. This is normal. Majority of the public works projects are done over the summer months, which is why we are significantly under budget. So as those projects complete, we will start seeing that budget increase, or that spending increase, sorry. Looking at waste collection, this is a noted issue. And further investigation will be required. We are projecting to be 30% over budget. That's approximately $50,000. So full analysis will be required regarding the cost recovery of this program. I will be reaching out to Blue Water Recycling to understand how we are kind of so far off from budget for the year. Lastly, Highway 81 sewer. We are pending the upcoming servicing agreements with Strathroy Caradoc. So further analysis is required for this department. Council may have some questions here. I actually do as well. So I will be digging into that and hopefully providing some information in the future. So I just wanted to go through at a high level today, just the overview, explanation how this report is laid out. Today was more an educational type presentation, but also touching on a few key points. Overall, the recommendation in front of us here is to receive the report as presented, but I'd be happy to take any questions that council has.
Okay, thank you, Johnny. Is there any questions at all? Not seeing any. It is a lot of information, but it's a lot of good information. Something that we haven't seen in a while, because as much as seeing the invoices coming in, you need to compare it to the actual budget of what's going on. So I think once going forward, once more of those numbers come in there, it'll be a lot nicer for council to see how we're doing, and I'm sure there'll be more questions as well as we go along.
For sure.
Okay. Before we move on, is there any questions at all?
It's all an improvement so far.
There you go. So I need a motion that the budget to actual report for June 2021 be received for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hendricks, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Okay, you have your second report there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to council, we have here the Safe Restart report for 2020. In 2020, the province provided many municipalities funding to support the funding for COVID relief. Adelaide Metcalfe received $65,000. Reporting on these funds were required by the province to better understand how municipalities were using these funds. Of the $65,000 that Adelaide Metcalfe received, we used just over $18,000 on direct costs, such as like office supplies, materials, and legal. and approximately $11,000 to offset lost revenues. And those are all highlighted in the attachment on that report. We do currently have $36,000 remaining in the Safe Restart Reserve Fund to be used for various COVID-19 related expenses. I just also want to note to council as well, for 2021, we did receive an additional $18,000 from the Safe Restart program and an additional $45,000 from the provincial COVID-19 recovery funding. Those are broken up in 2 installments. 1 installment is still remaining. I also reached out to the province as well, just to understand their thought process on these funds. Their intent is not to take these funds back if they're not used, but currently they are to be used for COVID-related costs at this time. So the recommendation in front of us is to receive the report as presented, but I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any.
Okay, is there any questions at all? Okay, seeing none, so can we have a mover and seconder for the recommendation?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Clerk, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? And that's
Aye.
carried. All right, that's everything for Johnny. Is there any additional questions at all for Johnny in the Treasury Department? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our next report, which is from our Public Works Manager, Coulter.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. I have 2 reports tonight. The first report is just a Public Works information report and status update. Northwest corner of the township was the targeted area for this year's maintenance gravel contract. The roads that received a gravel lift were Sexton Road, Wilson Road, Morris Road, Seed Road, and a select few spots on School Road. This contract is now being completed. Invoicing for that is actually just going through, so you will see that next meeting and the budget comparison. The dust control contract is also being completed. All gravel roads in the township receive dust suppressant on an annual basis. Sidewalk construction along Center Road is 90% complete. As most of you are aware, we're just waiting on the handrail. I guess the galvanizing company has had some recent delays. I just spoke with the contractor last week, so they are hoping to get that out there as soon as they finish it. So they know we're looking forward to having that handrail up, as that section is closed right now just to ensure safety. So School Road between Egremont Drive and Muller Drive, Denning Road, and a portion of Melwood Drive actually was pulverized last week, Thursday and Friday. This application brings the road back to a gravel surface for minor reconstruction, a gravel lift before getting asphalted this September. Cocoa Paving will be doing the asphalt. And minor construction took place on Napier Road last month. This road will also be getting a gravel lift in the near future, as well as receiving a double surface treatment, which is tar and trip, in late August, possibly early September. And the Kerwood Park Pavilion has been demolished and disposed of as part of phase 1. New construction is still on target for late August, early September, due to material delays, as council was made aware. Again, I talked to the contractor this morning actually, and they are on target to start late August. So that's also exciting. I'll take any questions if need be.
Okay, thank you, Coulter. Is there any questions at all? Doesn't look like it. There's a lot of stuff going on in the township here. You're a busy man.
Through the mayor, the 81 highway, it looks great. And once the railings go up, that's awesome. There's people that are walking along there, but they're staying away from the edge. Mm-hmm. I noticed the other day, but it's all good. Looks great. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, so we have the motion there. And where is it? It's that the report entitled the Public Works Information Report for July 2021 be received for information. Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Hendricks, seconded by Councillor Clerk. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And then you have your second report there.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Yeah, this is just regarding the replacement of Culvert 18 on School Road. The 2021 budget, council approved the replacement of Culvert 18 on School Road, which is located approximately 1.2 kilometers north of Catesville Drive. Staff sent engineered drawings to various companies that manufacture large culverts, seeking written quotes. After receiving 3 written quotes and speaking with the respondents' contacts about the price of steel rising substantially, it was stated that due to the recent raw material cost fluctuations, they wouldn't be able to guarantee the same price after 10 days. In consultation with the CAO and the treasurer, it was decided to move forward on the purchase of the Culvert 18 to ensure that the township was able to stay within budget and to limit any negative cost impacts associated to a low risk purchase. This purchase was deemed low risk as the cost came in under council's approved budget and appropriate procurement process was used following council's procurement policy. Tenders and quotes are issued in compliance with the township procurement policy. We received 3 written quotes for the supply of the culvert. Armtech came in at $34,032 plus HST. So the successful respondent was Armtech based on lowest total price. Based on the bids received for the supply of Culvert 18, we're actually under budgeted amount of $40,000 by $5,968 plus HST. So we are under budget, which is great. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Okay, thank you, Coulter. Is there any questions at all? Not seeing any. Do you have a mover and seconder for the recommendation?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Clerk, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. All right, that looks like it's the end of our staff reports. So do we have anything for other business? I don't know, Deputy Mayor Hendricks, I drove through Kerwood today and I saw that the chicken dinner for the Optimist Club, there's a sign for this Saturday night that it's sold out. Is that true?
I heard that they had 400 dinners sold, so I think it is sold out.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been really good community support through the pandemic. So I think the Optimists are pretty happy with local support that we're getting.
That's excellent. So anybody that's living in the village of Kerwood right now on Saturday, you're going to have a lot of cars driving through the village picking up their dinner. So that's really good. All right, is there anything else for other business? Okay, seeing none. So we have our bylaws here. So we have a number of motions here. So the first one is that bylaw number 49 of 2021, bylaw number 50 of 2021, and bylaw number 51 of 2021 be receive the first and second reading. And those ones are, this is different how we normally lay them out, so I'm going to read them out. So bylaw number 49 is being a bylaw to provide the drainage works in the township of Adelaide Metcalfe in the county of Middlesex, being the Crothers and McFarland drain. And then bylaw number 50 is for the Timmerman's drain. And then bylaw number 51 is for a bylaw to amend the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 34 2007 with respect to some concession for South Parts Lot 11 and 12 geographic township of Adelaide or of Metcalfe. So mover and seconder for the first and second reading for those bylaws.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Clerk, second by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. And then the next one there is that bylaw number 42 and 43 of 2021 received the third and final reading. And that is for the McKean drain and the Morgan drain. Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Aye.
And then the last one here, bylaws number 47, 48, 52, and 53 received the first, second, and third reading. And that is for a bylaw to appoint a clerk to the Corporation of the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe, which is bylaw number 47. 48 is to appoint a deputy clerk to the Corporation of the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe. Bylaw number 52 is a bylaw to designate a head of the municipal corporation for the purpose of the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, known as MFIPA, referred to as ACT. And then bylaw number 53, which is the confirmed council proceedings. Morgan's laughing. Okay, mover and seconder. Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Clerk. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Anyways, we'll straighten that up in the next one. We'll figure that one out. Okay, if there's nothing else before I adjourn, I just want to say, I think, Mike, hopefully you were able to keep up with me. I'm sure you did probably well considering your years of being a deputy clerk. I believe when you were in Middlesex Center, and were you deputy clerk as well in North Middlesex?
No, just a brief period in Middlesex Center.
That's good though. I'm sure. Yeah, you'll do an excellent job. Hopefully, the good thing is that we record these. So if I went too fast for the mover and seconders, then you can go back and make sure. But anyway, anyways, if there's nothing else, we have a motion to adjourn at 8:01. Deputy Councilor McKinnon, because it's your birthday, and Deputy Hendricks. All those in favor?
So moved.
And that's carried.